Hi, AM here, and today we're gonna do the episode 3 of the evolution of the Roman army. And this is being from the 4th to 3rd century, or 399 to 200 BC. So, around the beginning of the 4th century BC, they would mostly still been fighting in phalanx formations. And just over a century earlier, went from being a kingdom to a republic. And still more resemble the Greek hoplites than how many people would imagine. But that was all about to change in 390 BC, when an army of Gauls, of course a Gallic tribe from the north of Rome, called the Senones, stormed down, annihilated the Roman army at the Allia River, and sacked Rome. But after some time, the Romans did eventually drive them out under Marcus Furius Camillus. But their city was still heavily damaged, which soon led to the Camillan reforms, which from then on, it forced them to rethink their strategies. And so, but around a half century later, they were coming to conflict with the neighboring Samnite people in a 53-year-long conflict called the Samnite Wars. And around this time, though, around the end of the 4th century BC, though, all of a sudden, dun 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 dun. Wait, dun dun. It's evolving. Dun 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 dun. Da 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 da. Your phalanx is evolved into a maniple. So yeah, in order to combat such foes, of course their neighbors, they adopted the much more flexible and more mobile maniple system, replacing the phalanx system. Around this time, not too long after the Samnite Wars ended, where they ended up looking less like the Greek hoplites, and instead, in this system, it would have the youngest troops, or the scourgers in the front, or the velites, who wore distinctive wolf-skinned hoods over their helmets. And behind them were the light infantry, also young men in their 20s, the Hastati, and behind them were originally spearmen but later evolved to be swordsmen, and behind them, the principal troops, or slightly older, more experienced troops, and who could forbear armor, the principes, being Hamada armor, or chainmail during this time, and over their chests, the Hastati would wear some bronze or brass cuirasses, And of course, then instead of using the hop-on shields, they have much larger shields that curved around their body, called scutums, that were oval in shape during this time. And behind the principes being the veterans and the oldest and most experienced, the triarii. And they had the oldest and most experienced troops come into the fighting last, so that way they would finish off the battle strong. And one of the helmets they would have worn during this time, being during around 300 BC, being this helmet I have here, the Montefortino helmet. That would have, during this time, often between around 300 to 200 BC, sported feathers like this as plumes. Or they would either wear that, whereas the more experienced ones would sometimes wear a helmet, being the Italian Corintho helmets that would look like the Greek Corinthian helmets, but are meant to be worn on top of the head like a cap. So yeah. But eventually, at the end of the Samnite Wars, they came out victorious and conquering most of the Italian peninsula except for the north, or the Cork area. But only shortly afterwards, from across the Ionian Sea, was Pyrrhus of Epirus. And apparently in the south of Italy were Greek colonists. And of course they fought some 3-year-long wars against him from 275 to 272 BC, I think, against Pyrrhus and his armies. Though he did manage to win some victories against the Romans, but at a heavy cost, and lose many essential parts of his army. That even said, quote, "One more bout with these Romans, and then we are done for." So yeah. After that, only 8 years later though, they ended up meeting their greatest and most deadliest enemy yet, Carthage, who were based in their capital in what is now Tunisia. And they would soon fight a 118-year-long conflict with them called the Punic Wars, being 3 of them. So the first one being from 264 to 241 BC, being mostly naval battles, which at first they wouldn't engage with the Carthaginians at all at first, but rather bide their time, as there was one story I've heard of a Roman who discovered a Carthaginian ship that, of course, shipwrecked, that ended up drifting onto a beach, and he observed it. And since they didn't really have a navy, since they were mostly a land army, but by copying off the designs of the Carthaginian ships, being they were able to make ones of their own, but fight them on their own ships. And so, in 241 BC, soon ended with Rome victorious and winning them the three large islands in the Western Mediterranean, being Sicily, Sardinia, and Corsica, which left Carthage feeling humiliated. So yeah, during around this time, basically, the Romans were getting more powerful during this time, and they were continuing to win many wars between this time. So yeah. And later on, they would have armies be stationed in Spain, and in 225 BC, they would meet another Gallic army. Two Roman armies would completely surround and defeat them, and for between that time, when Rome was stacked in 390 BC, and when that battle happened, clearly, and who the Carthaginians also use as mercenaries in their army, they clearly learned a lot how to face against such foes. So yeah. And the weapons being adopted from the Iberians of Spain, being such as a short stabbing sword or the gladius, and the throwing javelins or the pilum, designed to bend on impact so that way the enemy couldn't yank it out of their shields even and throw it back. But yeah. And soon there is the second one, and that started in 219 BC, when Hannibal and his army sacked the city in Spain called Saguntum, who were allies with Rome, which angered Rome. And soon started the Second Punic War. And then Hannibal takes his army up through, since most of the sea routes in the Western Mediterranean were now being controlled by Rome, they head up instead through the Alps, which many thought was ludicrous. So yeah. And the large and good part of his army, but he did manage to went down, and by fighting the Romans on their own soil in Italy, managed to win many victories against them. And of course, and so one man named Fabius decides to use the tactic that the Romans despise, the Fabian tactic, or in that case, mainly attrition, by tiring out the enemy and making him Hannibal's army run out of supplies, which the Romans which made the Romans see Fabius as nothing but a coward, and thought of it as that tactic as being cowardly and un-Rome. But yeah. And then, in 216 BC, the Roman army suffered its worst defeat in Cannae. with around 70,000 Romans killed. So yeah. And of course, then one man named Scipio, later would be named as Scipio Africanus, of course his father ended up dying in that battle, of course. Yeah. But he did observe Hannibal's tactics, his every move. And soon he bided his time. And then later on, only when later on he would take his armies to Spain and sack many Carthaginian cities in southern Spain. And went near Carthage, and were only when then he meets Hannibal and his army at 202 BC at Zama, which the Romans won. And resulting in the end of the Second Punic War, and not too long afterwards would plan their conquest of Greece and Hannibal's exile, and eventually his suicide. But that will be for the next episode. Well, that was my part 3 of the evolution of the Roman army. But as usual, thanks for watching. Leave a like and subscribe to watch more content on this channel every day. But I'll be back later with another video. But from now on, thanks for watching. And have a happy new year.